Hello everybody, back again with a Blitz game from tonight. Blitz games aren't always the best ways to show examples, obviously, but I've seen this a few times now in playing Blitz online where I play the Caro-Kahn and my opponent will exchange, and then they'll make this awkward check on a Queen A4 check. And let's just go ahead and look at this game and see if you can find the problems with what ends up happening here. So we'll go forward with some moves from Caro-Kahn. Panov-Botvinnik attack with the C4. Defend it. I'm playing the black pieces here. And right here, so we've got the queen on b3, and I'm sure some of you guys have seen the position like this, or maybe even this very position before, but what do you think black should do here? I should go ahead and pause the video for a minute and consider black's options. Of course, we do have two pieces here that are threatening one another, so pawn takes pawn is an option. But why don't you just take a minute and see if you came up with a move that I found during this game and kind of set up part of what leads into a win, I guess. Of course, my opponent makes a mistake too, which helps out, but see if you can find the move I played. Okay, so hopefully you found knight to a5. And we're doing this with the idea that the queen will guard the knight. We're kind of encouraging our opponent to check here or here and lose time basically with the check. You're not normally with check you're gaining time, you're forcing your opponent to make moves, but in this case the queen can't stay on either of those squares, so queen check came and bishop to d7. And of course there's an awkward trap here. If my opponent decides to block with the knight, I can just play my a6 pawn forward and win that knight due to the pendant of the knight to the queen, so he or she can't make that move. And the queen is retreated, and it actually has to retreat. A lot of the squares here are occupied as my bishop has these squares, the knight has that square, so the queen really has to go back to c2 or d1, goes back to c2, and I gobble up that c pawn. So that's the start of what has gone wrong for white. Now, my opponent then decided to pin my knight over here, which is fine, but without being able to control d5 with the knight, I guess he could play knight to e4 is an idea, but I'm not really afraid of anything there, so I'm just going to go ahead and support my pawn with b5. And here b3, it doesn't take very long to look at the position and see some of the weaknesses here. So what squares are weakened by this move? If you've maybe studied weak squares before, or heard that idea before, you might immediately notice that the b, d, and c squares here, these dark squares, are now very weak, and especially this knight. And it's pretty simple to see that the bishop could come out and be pinned the knight to the king, and then we'll have the rook coming over to add additional pressure. And that's something that white needs to be very aware of and be playing to stop the pressure and a potential loss of a piece there. So captures, and now I play a6 to shore up my b pawn. I could have also played bishop to b4, was an idea there, to pin the knight to the king. And then I went ahead and played h6. And with this, I'm tempting white to move the bishop off of this diagonal so that this knight won't have any additional protectors. There are possibly stronger moves here. I think rook c8 immediately is probably stronger. I'm sure the computer would see it that way. I went ahead and played the h6 move. And then bishop up to b4, pinning the knight to the king. And so my opponent sees this pin here and castles. Now I play a weakening move on my king side. I haven't castled over there, but I just wanted to, I guess, stop the bishop from taking my knight. This is probably pretty sloppy. I think rook c8 is just the move here, but I play g5 first, and then I play rook to c8. And at this point, my opponent resigned with no good way to support the knight. So again, the finishing position here isn't really what this trap was about. It's just that idea of the queen to a4. If we go back, when queen to a4 check was played, don't fall into the trap of trying to play for this. So if we flip the board around here, you can see queen to a4. If you were playing the white pieces, not a great idea. Just even queen to b3, I guess, in that position wasn't ideal, right? Because queen b3, and the analysis actually changes. You can see the engine go from white being in a slightly favorable position right now to being slightly behind after making that move, according to the computer. difficult to prove it over the board a lot of times, but in this case knight to a5 I think does it pretty simply and isn't a hard move to find. Hope you've enjoyed the video, and I look forward to seeing you on my blog soon.